we are meeting in the break room because of NIAC voting in our regular meeting place. Have you guys looked at the agenda? We do have one change, the sheriff will not be here today. You can cross that off.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
No further discussion, I assume. We'll, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and I say aye. Okay, agenda is approved. And minutes. No, I didn't see any correction.
I read them, no problem.
Seconded.
Okay, no further discussion. Minutes are okay. All in favor, sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Stan, are you in favor of the
Aye.
minutes? Okay, and opposed, nay? All right, the meeting minutes are approved. And county attorney is not here, so, and we don't have the finance. Was anybody going to attend actually for the conservation?
Me.
Okay, all right, then that'll be our next discussion on refinancing conservation loans and possible approval of new interest rates.
Okay, you have two documents in front of you. One has two different loan summaries. That's from Cresco Union Savings Bank, showing that today they are paying 3.875 interest on two different loans. Basically, Jeff Heil has explained that if we were to have Jeff actually try to negotiate with on the open market, we could probably get 2 or 2.2% on interest. Jeff suggested that we should stay local and we should see if we couldn't get them down to 2.5. Cresco Union Savings Bank is willing to go with the 2.5 on both of these loans. It'll be, we will basically keep the loans. All we're doing is renegotiating the interest rate. I contacted, then on the other loan is with Home Trust, and that one was for $56,378. The interest rate today with them was 4.45. They're willing to drop it to 2.95. When I had talked to CUS Bank last Friday, I asked if this other loan was substantially higher, would they be willing to go with it at 2.5? They said yes, they would, but that would require us to do a new loan, and we'd have to hold a public hearing, which would cost us a little bit of money to publish. So it's up to the board here. If you want to, if you're happy with paying the 2.95, we can stay with that. I mean, we can have it drop to the 2.95, or we can, basically what you'd end up saving is probably $800–900 if we went from down to the 2.5.
Do you know what it actually costs to refinance though? Because don't they give a little fee in there also for doing that?
No, this would be, not that I'm aware of.
Our only expense to be all loans at 2.5 would be to publish it in the paper twice.
Well, you also run the risk that it doesn't get approved. I mean, you guys approve it, then somebody challenges it, and it doesn't get approved, and then what do you do?
That's true, and I know some people like to see us spread it around as far as using all the banks in town type thing.
I suppose.
No, you just have to publish it in the paper one time, is all. But how much are you talking, how many dollars?
Basically, we're at $56,378. You're basically looking at a 0.5%. So,
I mean, how many dollars?
well, what I'm getting to that, sir.
No, I just wanna know the principle.
Oh, principal,
Because there's different ways you can go about it depending on.
$56,378.
Okay,
And 0.5% would be about $240 for the first year, and of course it goes down after that, so you're probably looking at, like I say, $700-800.
so if it's not more than $100,000, which it isn't, it's only 56, yeah, there's a shortened version that you can use. Has to be published once in the paper.
Unless we,
Unless it's just a refinance, if it's just a
it's just
refinance,
It is a
renegotiating
refi-
the
it is-
interest and then nothing happens.
yeah, then you don't need to do anything.
No. The only thing we have to do is we have to take a copy of the minutes to each bank, and Barb has to sign a new agreement. That's all that has to happen.
Did Adam have an opinion on any of this?
Of course, he likes to save money.
Money saved is money, that's money
Yeah.
earned.
Yeah. No, I meant as far as this last one, whether to move it over to CUSB or leave it there.
Well, he was out yesterday, they don't, and I didn't get this until yesterday from,
Sure.
Well, I would move that we go through, for all three loans through CUSB at 2.5%.
So all three loans together would be less than $100,000.
no,
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 it'd be much more.
no, two of them we can
You wanna peek here?
just
This is,
renegotiate the interest.
Okay,
it's much more than that.
But they're separate. They're separate loans.
Well,
so the one loan at CUSB is for $64,000,
correct,
which you're just gonna renegotiate the interest rate.
correct,
The next one is at CUSB for $428,000, and you're just going to renegotiate the interest rate.
correct,
The third one is currently at Home Trust Bank, but that one would be a new loan at CUSB,
correct.
okay,
Unless we left it at home trust.
unless you left it there.
With the motion being to transfer that to CUSB.
Yes.
Okay. I'll need to know the exact amount then that you need to borrow. Because I'm sure if the balance right now is, well, that's your payment amount come July. I don't know what your current balance is right now. And
So that last line.
this can't be right unless somebody paid ahead. Because you've got a balance of $75,000 on July 10th, 2018 of $75,000, right? Am I reading that right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a $9,000 principal payment on 7/9/2019, and all of a sudden your principal's dropped by $19,000. But there was only a $9,000.
Right, there must be something wrong.
Yeah, something's not kosher.
I agree with you. I think there is something wrong there.
So somebody needs to check on that, get me the correct amount that you'll actually want to borrow from CUSB. And the interest rate is gonna be how much?
2.5
2.5
at
is what-
CUSB.
And I talked to Doug Krabby is who I talked to.
Home Trust wanted 2.95. I also want to know though too, for sure, if they charge for refinancing. Not for, for starting a home, that one from Home Trust, if we go to CUSB, for starting a whole new one. I wanna know if they charge for that, cause I think they might. And then that would, we take that into consideration too. So maybe we should postpone a week, just get a little bit more information, is that gonna work?
I guess truthfully then, probably would be better to be,
Well, we could go ahead with the two at CUS Bank.
Sure.
okay, so I will change my motion that for the two that are at CUSB Bank, that we refinance that through them down to the 2.5,
Lower the interest rate.
lower the interest rate.
And do a little more research on the other. Is that,
Correct.
Okay. Were you gonna second that, Stan?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
No, we gotta do a roll call vote on something like this, I think.
What do you think, Mark? This might possibly be something we need.
Just go ahead and do one if there's a question, but I think
Sure.
since it's just refinancing, I don't know if it's actually required or not. It's not a new note. Just go ahead and do roll call if there's
Okay.
if there's a dispute.
Steve?
Aye.
Stan?
Uh,
Okay, any further discussion
Are you
now?
voting?
And I for myself.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no further discussion,
Well, Mark,
this is passed then.
years ago, we had an issue that, and maybe Lowell will remember it. We were not doing roll call and everything, and then we got written up for, our outside auditor that time, and that's why we switched to everything being a roll call vote. It was just a real simple, we didn't wanna be written up, and
Were you just written up for just one thing, one time?
And I always say, and I try not to sound like a smart aleck when I say this, okay? I always ask someone when they write us up for something like that, where they went to law school and where they went to their parliamentary procedure class, because a roll call vote is, and I just had this discussion with Barb, that's why.
Yeah, that's what I
A
told
roll
her.
call vote is only required if the code requires it. For instance, if you're gonna go into closed session, it says you have to call a roll call vote. If on financing, it's a roll call vote. On a lot of things, it's absolutely required, but on 99% of the things, a roll call vote is not required. But if you feel more comfortable, then you don't have to decide when it isn't, when it is, when it isn't, just.
I prefer not to, and if anything, Lowell, you can just let me know ahead, if you're questioning it, we'll go ahead and do it.
And when you were the chair last week, you didn't do roll call votes.
I done roll call vote and everything except the very first item.
Well, I mean, you didn't, though, on the minutes, you didn't on, I don't think, did you?
Yes, I did.
Just the agenda.
I'll go back and watch the tape.
Well, here, we got the minutes right here.
I'll go back and watch the tape.
I
Okay,
promise you.
all
You want a
right,
better supper?
I'll go back and watch the tape.
okay. Do you have anything else for us, Mark?
I do
today?
not, no.
Okay,
So if you want to do this, next week, know the amount, the interest rate, and things like that.
and if they charge a fee?
And they shouldn't on something like that.
You wouldn't think, but I don't know, I think
No.
I'd check.
Most of the time when people go in, if they refinance a house, that's a different situation,
Sure.
There they do charge a fee. But if they're just dropping the interest rate, all they do is make an entry on their computer that the interest rate dropped and there's
Well,
no.
no, I mean, that's what's happening on the
Yeah.
two, but we're talking
On
about
the
the new
third.
note.
Yeah,
Would they be charging a fee for,
Yeah.
doing a new note?
Transferring.
Yeah,
okay.
that's
All right.
the only one I'm concerned
yeah,
about.
that's a good idea to find out, just to make sure.
Were you gonna take care of that, Stan, or do you want one of us to work on it?
No, I can find out about that, I mean,
Okay, all right, since you've already talked with him, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. County engineer.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark.
Yep.
Morning.
Give me a call sometime.
Doing a couple things right now. I'm working on DOT program and budget that's due April 15th, and trying to get some things worked out there. Just kind of the final time to iron out everything that's kind of been, you know, we did the county budget program, or county budget here, but now it's time to get things ironed out with the DOT. The county one is kind of a general, here's how much money I have, here's how much money we can spend. And the DOT is kind of a little bit more categorized in what we do. And I do look at both when I do the county budget, but now I gotta fine tune everything and make sure everything's in line with letting dates, things like that. So I'm working on that. The second thing is, I'm gonna need to advertise for a new office assistant engineer, engineer assistant, something like that. With what's transpiring, we're gonna need some more help in the office with, you know, Jim's may or may not be around for a year or so, so I need to start getting somebody in that position, get training before any retirements take place in the office, so I don't know who we'll find, where we'll find them, but we need to start getting going on something like that, so we'll probably.
That's kind of tricky,
It's a,
isn't
it's
it?
a,
Because
it's a tricky,
he
'cause it's,
wouldn't know until November.
well, but even such, if he doesn't, he's still thinking in another year
I'll
he may
be
retire, so even if I get another year with him, that's great training for anybody new coming in, so. We'll be doing some, I know I've kind of put a small feeler out to, I know there's Hawkeye Tech and things like that that have programs associated with, the county, and I know that these programs orient the students towards civil engineering, technology, things like that we can kind of pull. There's always, the problem is there's such high placement percentages there, it's hard to find people, so we'll do as much advertising as we need to try to get some good candidates to come over and interview, so, but I need to tell you guys, we need to start, doing something there before we're stuck without anybody.
What is the physical requirements of education?
Well, what I'm gonna
Roughly.
want is somebody that's, it would be nice if I could steal another county's individual, because they already know how that thing, but I'm gonna want somebody that's got some background in AutoCAD drafting, things like that, some survey background knowledge and some experience there, because we do some of that once in a while, and maybe if we get the right candidate, we can do more than what we've been able to do before. Not that Jim couldn't do any of that stuff, but there's some higher technology equipment out there that we don't have, but somebody might be familiar with that might make things a little bit better for us. We don't know that yet, but I'm looking at somebody that might have that, a 2-year degree in civil engineering technology or something like that, or not necessarily a degree, but maybe somebody that's working with another, maybe even a consultant that's got some background experience with that kind of thing too, just somebody with a little bit more experience in civil engineering and highway maintenance, things like that, so. I've gotta find an adequate job description too. I haven't hired anybody before, so it's kind of digging out into the cavern and trying to pull something out that would benefit us. And there's some things online, the Engineer Service Bureau website that has job descriptions for that type of thing, but somebody that can kind of hit the ground running maybe, but obviously every county's different and you know, the way things operate, but somebody that has kind of an idea of how things have to work, so.
So you're just looking for consensus of the board, or do we have?
Well, I don't know if
an
it needs to be a
action?
consensus or not, but we've gotta do something, so I'm just kinda telling you, I need to get an advertisement out there and start pulling people in.
Okay.
Well, I would think now would be the time to get
Well,
somebody.
you know, we've got graduations coming up with colleges, so if I get out there now, you know, that gives most students till May to kind of find
Yeah, I hate
that.
to see you wait till the last minute.
Well, right, and we probably should've, you just never know. what we
Yeah,
wanted to-
well, this is
With
probably,
with
this
not
is probably a
knowing, with
good
not
amount of
knowing
time.
what was happening, you know, now's time to probably get it.
Right, now that he's decided for
So-
sure to at least run.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
even if it's a year, like I said, even if it's a year from now, he decides he's,
Okay.
you know, he's looking at that window of retirement. Yeah, it hits the engineering budget a little bit, but that's only temporary until, so.
Okay, is there a consensus that we're okay with this?
I don't see a problem. I
I
think
just
it's
wanna let you
something we
guys know.
need to do because we don't wanna be without,
Yeah.
period.
It's, one thing about the job is it's difficult to hire people. I mean, it's difficult to, a lot of things are difficult, but hiring is tough. It's-
Find the right,
Well,
right
you
mix.
hope you find the right person and work out.
Yeah,
And-
because so many people are not finding the
Well,
right
and
mix.
it's training. I mean, there's a lot of things that people do different than other people, and
Sure.
so.
And you never know, your first applicant might back out,
Yep, so,
be a little ahead of the schedule and
so anyway, I think it's gonna be a challenge for us. But, you know, we're small counties in north central Iowa.
Exactly.
We're not urban counties where there's,
Mhm.
so,
correct.
Nice if we could find somebody out of Nyack
yeah.
that maybe wanted to stay in there.
And I don't know what their program is there, if they have a civil engineering program, but I do know that Hawkeye Tech and even Iowa State and the University of Iowa, there's schools out there that kind of focus on that type of technology too, but we'll look everywhere.
And you might be lucky enough to have a local that's
And
doing that.
maybe,
Okay.
you just never know.
Okay, anything else for us, Rich?
Well, the only thing we don't have on that, and when we do an advertisement, when I get closer to having a document put together for a job description, is figuring out a salary too. And we'll look at the Service Bureau website and kind of get a feel for what starting salaries are. And obviously, if you're getting somebody that's been maybe from a consultant side before, it could be challenging to match a salary that they're already making.
That's the
At
area,
least
that's
match
the area I'm concerned, just
That's the tough
because.
part, you know,
if
I know where Jim's at now and with salary and stuff like that, and obviously Jim's been a long time, so that salary's been increasing every year with increases and whatnot, and a lot of experience being here for as long as he has, so we'll have to really kind of figure that out, you know, there's no,
I'm more concerned at the moment too, if he ends up staying another year
Well-
and then you're paying that extra.
it'll be what it'll be, and like I said, it'll be a temporary thing, but we'll get through it. It's just, I needed to tell you guys now that we need to really kind of get something.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yep, thank you.
Sure.
They know where you are.
Any other questions you have for me? I don't know, the warm weather's looking kindly to us maybe, so we'll see if
Yeah,
we can get some thawing before we get rain.
As long as it doesn't rain.
Yes, as long as it doesn't rain. I know there was some tiling going on in Worth County here last week that, very little frost.
Really?
Yeah, I think they had some good snow cover where they were digging and they were putting tile in last week, so. I guess depending on where you're at, that snow was a good insulator for frost. I didn't see it, but I heard it.
I wondered how deep it was on it this year.
Depends on where you're at.
Well, back to your hiring, I think you really need to emphasize on any posting about hypers.
Well,
Basically, most people don't really, because IPers can, like Hyde used to explain, you know, that can make a $500,000 worth of difference, you
Oh,
know,
sure.
from just working in the private versus,
And that's something I bring up in interviews a lot is, you know, some benefits are good, some benefits not so good, but when you look at a retirement packages the state and the government has, it's not a bad deal at all, and sometimes it's worth sacrificing other things for.
No, that's a huge hidden benefit,
Yep.
yeah.
So,
Okay. We'll move along then, thank you,
all right,
Rich.
thank you.
To meetings attended. Substance Abuse Coalition meeting. We are working on helping Amy Miller of Prairie Ridge with getting people to answer questions for a survey to see what people think are needs for substance abuse in our county. And I gave her a list of names and suggestions because it's a telephone interview that she has to give them, just asking questions. They're really simple, but it takes some time, so I did give her some suggestions, and then I offered for tips training she's putting on. She gave us a list of all the places in the county, the establishments that are expired with their tips training of their staff. And I offered to help with a couple of contacting of them. And let's see, Jay Peddlety will write our last article for the county newspapers on the substance that causes the greatest cost and problems in Mitchell County, which is alcohol. And Amy, Jay, and Tim are also working on getting reminders to the bartenders who have lapsed with their tips training besides me. And Jay has been helping with Prime for Life at the Riceville schools. And Betty got a donation from Rotary and Omnitel. County Social Services in Mason City, our meeting was held. 25 items on our agenda, most requiring action, but I'll just give the highlights. Marcia Troji gave a report saying there are a lot of grants out there to help with opioids, but meth is actually the bigger problem right now. If money comes in from state, kids services will be added for mental health. Megan Teets received a promotion to training and development specialist and will now also cover our other human resource management. There will be 6 access or crisis centers, each with up to 16 beds. Crisis centers are people without the resources needed that can't get help elsewhere. The result of these centers will be keeping the mentally ill out of jail. Our closest will be in Waterloo, where our juvenile detention center is. Technically, people out of our region can go there, but our people are given first priority. County Social Services will pay law enforcement for training, but not for their time for an upcoming mobile crisis unit. Our hospital is considered a critical access hospital with 24/7 availability, psychiatric evaluations and assessments. Angela Nastrom, our Mitchell County patient advocate, had contacted me ahead concerning a change we were making, so I made sure her concern was heard, and it was easily taken care of just by some simple verbiage change. According to the Iowa code, advocates cannot be told what to do by CSS, as they are there for the client. So instead of saying her position would be supervised by County Social Services, it will says she will fall under the policy of County Social Services. Iowa Workforce Development Waterloo. The quick, serious changes needed, mandated by the feds through the state, are so overwhelming. Seriously, I think that's the reason why over half of our board isn't even attending the meetings. And the people that attend the meetings are overwhelmed and perplexed and feeling rushed that how can we do it and how can we do it with less money. It's a mess. So we're probably going to be forced to merge 20 counties so that we can still do business with this cut in dollars. I'm going to be giving, but I have to find out which ones, our county attorney, several documents to be looking at as possible models for, we've got to do a 28E agreement and all these other things. And then just if you're curious, 1, 2, and 7 are the ones that will probably combine. And I had an economic development meeting in which this doesn't usually happen, but we did not have a quorum. So we'll be meeting again, and I'll report on that next week. Steve?
Okay, and I'm sorry I didn't shut my phone off, but I shut it off now.
We all do.
Anyways, I had a Upper Wapsipinicon meeting, Watershed Management Authority meeting, and they had a planning update, the Northeast Iowa RC&D, Russ Evelscheiser, he was the person that gave this and discussed that they have a plan that can be adopted, and it has to be recognized by FEMA. And once that is recognized by FEMA, then they can apply for funding. And this was an action, and we passed it. We had an IWA project implementation update. Again, this would be the North Iowa RCND. Tori Nimrod gave the update on that, and money's available, all monies available will be spent, so there won't be any getting sent back. And one thing that she did discuss, the fact that with a lot of our landowners in this watershed district are up in their 80s, 90s. So children are managing the farms, or managers are managing the farms, and it was hard to get the correct signatures to get this stuff accomplished, to go forward from the correct owners. Also discussed was the future of the Upper Wapsipinicon WMA project coordinator. And they discussed the cost of the coordinator, and the idea was that they would assess the population of counties, including cities. Now, it's just a proposal. Have around 2 years to decide this, but must get our budget in for doing this by 2022. Moving on, they discussed a community flood resilient action plan for the city of Pulaski, and they had also discuss the project update of flood vulnerability, and they handed out surveys. Got 50% of them back. We filled ours out. I should say Adam filled that out for me. Watershed sampling, they also talked about that. They had not received the information on last year's sampling, and they do not know who's going to do the sampling in the future, because Angie All, the gal that had been doing that, she's moved on to a new job, so she's not part of this anymore. And they're testing, what they do, tests for nitrates, phosphorus, bacteria, and this is all temp related. So if the test is taken, it has to be kept at such and such a degrees, or bacteria is changed and this and that. But anyways, also discussed at this meeting was upcoming events, and they discussed about the Iowa Water Conference. That's in April. It's the 8th and 9th. Never said where. Apparently these people all were into this, so they all know exactly where this stuff's at. They also discussed the Iowa Soil and Water Conservation Conference. That'll be in July 28th and 29th, and that is in Des Moines. I did get that. Bottom here of the page, $26 million on requests for watersheds in the state. So $26 million, that's a lot of money.
Are they gonna work on then hiring somebody to take those test samples, or have somebody else there do that?
There was no action it wasn't discussed as who was going to do it.
Okay.
There isn't any action on it at this moment. But anyways, that's that meeting, and I had a meeting with the higher-ups in Valent, Jerry from the city of Osage, Jerry Dunley, and we went to Mason City. We had a meeting last Wednesday with the DNR in Mason City, and a lot of stuff here that over my head. Anyways, this is what was discussed at the meeting. It was at 10 o'clock, and the Valent people gave a history on the BBC. It was bought from Abbott Labs. They picked the site because it had good. It had a good rep with the state of Iowa, and started taking over the treatment. stated that taking over the treatment and the treatment from the city was part of that, and Valent has brought in, and just in the last 6 months, a specialist as an investment for the company, and her name is Katie. And Katie is the specialist. She discussed the compliance plan that they have set up for working with the state on the issues that we're having. The goal is to reduce the ammonia, which had been in compliance. They are monitoring the reactor and also trying to keep total suspended solids down. And Tom Madden from SEH also discussed the compliance plan. Now the DNR people there in Mason City said that they would manually override the specs to try and keep us from being out of compliance. We're doing samples. They are being sent to 2 different labs for results. They're going to be averaged between the 2 test results. This was okayed with the state. They want to get a water treatment agreement with the DNR, and we want to get out of the compliance problem. And we'll be deciding down this will be decided down in Des Moines at a later date from the DNR if that's okay. Unfortunately, there's more to that. We may still, every 6 months, get an out of compliance letter. We're not expecting a monetary enforcement because Valent is trying to be compliant. They're doing their best to try and show to the state that we're trying to resolve the issues here. And they're using, the DNR put that monetary statement in there. That's one way of wording it to get the company's attention. But anyways, and they also discussed that they will need a second pre-treatment agreement with the county. So you're going to get to re-sign that again.
I think I already did.
No,
A different one yet?
you're going to re-sign another one. Okay, this was on Wednesday. This is what I heard on Friday's meeting. This was the main topic with Valent. Our compliance agreement was turned down within 24 hours from the DNR, so we're going to be starting from scratch. And so the DNR has gotten, with the EPA, has gotten very strict, and they're by the book, and they're not bending any rules, so we've got a lot of
Okay.
tightening to do.
If you think that I should be at one of your meetings that explains more of what they're doing, what they're gonna be sending in again, let me know, and I'll try to.
Well, that would be if there's a meeting with the DNR.
Right.
The Valent meetings, I would never know. It would have to be a meeting with
Sure.
the DNR. So that can be done though, accomplished.
And then if they have me sign something again, make sure Jerry or somebody comes and explains to me exactly what they're
Well,
doing now.
the other day was at a poor timing because it was right during the middle of our last Tuesday's board meeting. When I got up, walked out of the room and got that piece of paper and come in, that's what that was all about. And that
Which
wasn't an opportune time to
He had
visit.
told me ahead of time, so I knew, I was aware of it. But if there's a problem now, I want more details.
Okay, that's not a problem. Anyways, there's my 3 meetings.
The only thing I had last week is I was negotiating with the interest rates with both banks, and you're aware of that, so.
Okay. Did the public have any comments on anything today? Charlie, I noticed you looked a little uncomfortable at one point, maybe there was something with the county engineer, maybe?
No, nothing that
Oh, good.
I know Annie's leaving,
Oh, okay,
for sure.
yeah, okay.
This is just a piece of information for you, but Leo Chisholm resigned from being the daily director over
Okay.
there. Denny Johnson's taken over, did that last Friday.
Are you talking about for
Food
food
bank.
bank?
For the food bank.
I
Who's
have not
taking
heard
over?
that yet.
Denny Johnson.
Dennis?
Okay, well, he'll be good at that.
You know Denny.
Denny's worked there for several years.
Mhm. Okay, interesting.
He'll be a good
Thanks.
person for operating that.
Yeah,
Been 35 years.
okay, well, if you guys don't have any more comments, we're gonna call the meeting adjourned.